Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Can you imagine the sheer unadulterated horror of waking up every morning, looking in the mirror, and seeing Patrick Harvie looking back at you? He is a very strange little man. He's filled with loathing for his fellow human beings, and an awful lot of self-loathing. It's why he has such a miserable, joyless life. It's why he wants to make everything worse, remove all the fun and all the good things from the world so that everybody can suffer the same as he does. But he is also delusional. He has said that he thinks at the next general election the Greens will win more than one seat. I think somebody needs to explain how general elections work. There's no proportional representation. There's no seats based on the number of votes you get overall. It's first past the post, and there's no time for weirdos like Patrick Harvie. There won't be any more than one Green, if that, and it will still probably only be Brighton, because Brighton's filled with weird people, just like Patrick Harvie. But we'll take a look at why he's feeling these delusions and why he thinks that the Greens are resurgent and that they're going to be a success and save the planet. Here goes. So, Hat-Trick Pervy claims Greens can win more than one seat at the general election, despite only 1% of the vote share in 2019. 1% they get, and he thinks, oh well, that's enough for us to win an election. No, Patrick, that would get you sod all in Scotland with proportional representation, because nobody likes the Greens. And given everything that the Greens are trying to do and remove all the fun, remove all the nice things from the world, how many people do you think are actively going to vote for you, other than the tofu-eating weirdos and those who like to wear socks and sandals? The Scottish Greens co-leader lauded the fact that English Greens have one MP in Caroline Lucas, who, it is said, is retiring. And he insisted that there will be more gains at the Westminster elections for the environmentalists. Well, they're putting the mental into environmentalism, aren't they? Anyway, Patrick Harvie claimed that the Greens can win more than one seat at the general election, as he insisted voters believe that the new Westminster poll will be about climate. No, Patrick, it won't. It will be the same as everything else. Money. It's always money. They want jobs. They want pay rises. They want money. Nobody ever votes on the lines of environmentalism. They always vote with their wallets. Anyway, this is despite his party netting just 1% of the vote in Scotland in 2019 and failing to outright win seats at any election in the past 5 years. The English and Welsh Greens do have an MP in Caroline Lucas, but the Scottish entity is a completely different party, registered with the Electoral Commission. And the Scottish Government Minister complained about the council tax freeze, but will stop short of voting against the SNP budget later this year. There's been so many red lines that they've crossed. If it's a red line, if you cross it, we're walking. This is a red line. If you cross it, we're walking. 3, 4, 5, 6 red lines. Every one of them broken. And have they walked? No. And why not? Well, £100,000 a year, and they've got the nice comfy seats of office, haven't they? So, yeah, they aren't walking anywhere. They're desperately sad. Anyway, Mr. Harvie and his party have been outspoken against the policy of freezing council tax, but they're not voting against it. But this will force local authorities to not hike up council taxes. It does not actually force them to do it. There's an agreement, the Verity House agreement, which they may stick to. But since Humza Yousaf has broken the Verity House agreement, they are under no obligation to freeze council tax. They can go ahead and raise it. There's nothing he can do. Anyway, this was supposed to be paid through funding from Hollywood administration, but they aren't funding it in full, and despite this, it will continue to back the nationalists, giving them the majority and allowing them to pass the budget. But as I say, even if they pass the budget, there's no obligation on the councils to freeze the council tax. They can still go ahead and raise it, and non-SNP councils may well do that anyway. Anyway, the Scottish Greens have previously been accused of giving up its principles following the Bute House Agreement, as a number of its flagship policies have been dropped or delayed. All of them. Every single one of them. This includes gender reforms, which were touted as a red line. That's been dropped, and that won't happen. And then there was the DRS, there was the fishing, there was all sorts of things. Every single one of them has gone and been broken, but they haven't walked because money. The same as what the general election will be fought on. Anyway, the party announced that it would be standing candidates in most seats across Scotland at the next general election. That's good. That's another separatist party that may pull a few votes away from the SNP. And with Alaba doing the same, again, more votes pulled away from the SNP. That should allow the SNP to be completely and utterly demolished. Anyway, he told BBC Radio Scotland that the north of the border, his party are aiming to stand more candidates than ever before in more parts of Scotland than ever before. He said, and I'm actually confident that there will be more than just the one MP. Caroline Lucas has been fantastic, but she's the only Green MP, represent Brighton Pavilion. He said, I'm actually confident that there will be more than one in the new session of Parliament. I think you are deluded. She's going because she just looks weird, doesn't she? Just looks weird. I mean, eyebrows drawn on like Coco the bloody clown. Anyway, regardless of where those seats are, he says, Green votes in the ballot box will force other parties to take notice. No, they won't. What makes you think that anyone will take notice? They look at you and they think, no, we want nothing to do with you. They look at the toxic nature of the Greens. They look at the damage in Scotland caused by the Greens. No party is going to align itself with you or your very strange values. You know, they're just looking at you and laughing. They're ridiculing you, Patrick, because you are a figure of ridicule. All of you. That's why you've all got strange nicknames. And strange people. Maggot Chapman. Weird. Anyway, he says... At the last Westminster election in Scotland, the Scottish Greens stood 22 candidates but failed to win anything. Honestly, it was an appalling embarrassment. They didn't get anywhere. The only reason they got a few seats is because of the regional ones, which are done on a PR basis. Anyway, that was at the Holyrood election, of course, but at Westminster, nothing. And they don't have the PR for Westminster, so they're going to get nothing. They only garnered a total of 28,000 votes, which averages out at just over 1,000 votes in every seat. And it gained only 1% of the total votes, finishing fifth and just 0.5% ahead of UKIP. And as of the 2021 Holyrood elections, the party had to rely on the list system to elect its 8 MSPs, after once again only garnering just over 1% of the overall constituency vote. That's all they are. They're a 1% party. They're never going to win anything. And I think that the rules for Holyrood need to be changed, that the only people who can be ministers are constituency MSPs, not list MSPs. And that will mean that it's that people can be reflected in knowing that, yes, you may have an MSP on the list in there, but no minister can be listed. And that stops extremist parties getting power, into positions of power. Anyway, Mr. Harvie also claimed that he was pushing for a timetable to reform council tax following the freeze, after admitting to the Daily Record that the policy wouldn't have been our choice. Well, this is the thing. They've been talking about, we've got to change council tax now. The only way you can do it that would be fair is an income tax-based council tax. And if you're going to do that, then it means that you do not raise it at the local level. It's got to be raised at national level and then assigned. He said it's not a sensible policy. He's talking about council tax in the long term. It results in a local tax system that is even more out of date and out of kilter with the asset wealth that's there. Yes, but people have worked very hard for asset wealth. It's something that you build up over time. Why should you be taxed on asset wealth rather than income? You can have a little old lady sitting there in a house that she's lived in her whole life. She can't move out of it because, the Alzheimer's starting to kick in. She needs as much familiarity as she can. But she's on a pension, but the house is bought. Are you going to tax her and move her into somewhere smaller and weird and that and destroy her life just because of your inability to maintain budgets? Seems very weird, doesn't it? But then he's a very weird man. Anyway, I shall round off there, which will come up. But we've just got to laugh at his sheer bloody optimism, winning more than one seat. They may not win any. Brighton is not a gimme. And Labour are resurgent. And after all, Brighton is a very left-wing town. It may well be at the next election there will be no Greens. How will that make you feel, Patrick? Coming up. I think you've got to be fairly optimistic if you want to be a politician and you're going to stand for the Green Party, because you must know that you're going to get so few votes, you're going to get so few seats, you're going to get so, I mean, even at council level, you're going to get nothing. Your whole life is one of constantly losing. You've really, to join the Greens, you've got to be the ultimate losers, haven't you? And that's just as well, because when you look at the Green Party in Scotland, that's all they are. You got to look, you got Patrick Harvie, a man who is just so miserable. He's picked the losing side on everything. He loves baby killers, hates decency. You've got the giraffe. She was so crap in Canada, they more or less threw her out. So she came to Scotland to see if she could do any better. She hasn't. You've got the ginger twiglet, who failed to leave, failed to get through university, never had a real job, lives with mummy and likes it. And, he sits there with no knowledge, no experience and nothing, but thinks that he can tell us how we should live. Then you've got Maggot Chapman, who wants to sexualise children. They really all are awful, failed, weird, broken human beings. The ultimate losers. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button. It really, really helps. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.